Johannesburg residents have been left frustrated. That's after City Power took over the load-shedding schedule from Eskom. Some residents have had to contend with 10 hours of blackouts, and over the weekend, some areas were completely shut down, with some energy experts suggesting that, in fact, Stage 8 was implemented. We speak now to Eskom spokesperson in Gauteng, Daphne Mokoena, to help us understand how it came to be. Mama Mokoena, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, that City Power took over the load shedding schedule from Eskom.
Yeah, maybe just to correct and good, is it still afternoon, Gigi? It's Eskom spokesperson, not for Gauteng only. Yeah, so what had happened, maybe just to give background, that Eskom does the load shedding, or in terms of calling the stages of load shedding. That is our system operator, based on the system balance or imbalances. He would then call for a stage in load shedding depending on what the gap is. So basically what that means that all the distributors will then have to have their schedules in place, and obviously their customers should have been advised to where these schedules can be found. And secondly, they need to implement those schedules as per the stages of load shedding as called upon by the system operator. Now, every distributor is required to basically do his own load shedding, meaning that they are supposed to do the switching off the breakers and switching them on as and when it is required as per their schedule. Now, with City Power and other, it's not just City Power, but we also have other municipalities that have approached us since we implemented load shedding to say they don't have the resources to do the switching during load shedding, and requested Eskom to assist to do the switching. And we have been assisting, for example, City Power to do the switching, just like we have been doing with other municipalities. But then in October, City Power approached Eskom to say that they now have the resources, all their resources, to enable them to do their own switching as it's required by the NRS 0448 Part 9. And we agreed that on the 6th, then we'll hand over the switching to them, but that required as well that all of us between Eskom and Gauteng, that is Eskom Gauteng and City Power, to revise the schedules. We revised our schedules and informed our customers on the 6th to say our schedules are revised, uploaded on our website, those new schedules, and seemingly City Power also did the same. So that's where we are currently, basically.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am, and I do beg your pardon. And so when City Power had no resources to do the switching, and now they have come back to Eskom to say we have those resources to do the switching, when Eskom agreed to hand over the switching to City Power, was there information that was requested to check if indeed they have capacity? I guess maybe we're asking in light of the frustration that has been ventilated by residents of Johannesburg.
Yeah, look, every distributor, because as Eskom, we don't unfortunately have a say of how other distributors need to manage their operations. So you would know that we also have a distribution division, and municipalities also have or are distributing as well in their own right. So unfortunately we don't have, and we cannot meddle in their business in terms of asking for certain things. Remember, it is the regulator that basically has the right to ask for certain things from us as distributors, but not that that is expected from Eskom. Unfortunately, we can't, and we were obviously of the view, and we still of the view that they were resourced to enable them to take over the switch, because we never, as Eskom, approached the municipality or City Power to say hand over. I mean, we now want to hand over the switch. It's them that approached Eskom to say, we are ready. We want to hand over. I mean, we want to do our own switching for whatever reasons that they have tabled to their customers.
Fair enough. Mokoena, we spoke to City Power last week. Today is Tuesday. We spoke to City Power last week.
Yeah.
And if you speak to the distributors, they will tell you that, well, we depend on Eskom. And if Eskom then introduces load shedding, then we have to see to finish, right, in terms of distributing the electricity to you. But what do you say then to customers who are feeling the frustration while also being pinched to meet their obligation to pay for the electricity, yet that service is not coming through? So between the distributor and Eskom, when there's no lights, where do we go to?
Yeah, no, you correct, because look, as Eskom, we are more than willing to assist the municipality and to assist the municipality so that their customers as well do not experience, the frustrations that we have been reading about in the media. And we will assist them if obviously they do approach us to say they need assistance. That's, I think, the promise that we can make to the distributor, being City Power, and their customers. And we really, as I said, that from our side, obviously implementing load shedding, it is Eskom's. Obviously, we need to take the blame for it. It's our responsibility, and having impacted their customers in such a way, obviously in terms of load shedding. But in terms of implementing the schedules as they are, it is the responsibility of the distributor to share the schedules, to implement the schedules, and hence you have all the other municipalities that we are assisting in terms of switching, when assisting them with switching, as we were doing as well with City Power. And unfortunately, they, in their obviously when they approached us, they were ready for to take over the switch, and I'm not sure what had happened. I suppose they do still have those teething issues which they are resolving currently.
Okay.
But as Eskom, we are willing to assist if the request does come through.
As you rightfully mentioned, ma'am, it's not just residents of Johannesburg, but many parts of the country. So when we take an issue on the weekend, for instance, you had certain spaces that were completely without electricity. You speak to analysts, they suggest that, in fact, Eskom had implemented stage 8 load shedding. You call your distributor and they tell you that cables were stolen, or they suggest that cables were stolen. Which one is it according to the information at your disposal? Yeah.
So there are two things. So basically, when the customer will be off, or three maybe, reasons why a customer would be off. So the customer would be off because there's a planned outage, which by law we need to inform the customers that we've got a planned outage. We've got 48 hours to inform our customers that, as per the regulators' requirement, that we need to inform customers. Or we'll have an unplanned outage where, for example, there will be theft of a cable, like you mentioned that example, or we just have a faulty system or equipment in the networks. The third, obviously, time where a customer would not have electricity is when we implement load shedding, and that is also planned because the customer should be aware that we are implementing load shedding and when is it going to be off, based on the schedules that each distributor would have actually uploaded in their system, or whichever way that they communicate with their customers. Now, if we have customers off and they don't know why they are off, having given you the three scenarios, so either it could be an unplanned outage, because as I said that with planned outage, customers should be aware. We as distributors we need by law to inform our customers, whether you are a municipality or an Eskom distributor. And for load shedding, as I said, that through the schedules, the customer should be aware. But if they are not aware of an instance where they are off, it means it's an unplanned outage, and they need to report it to the relevant distributor. If it's an Eskom customer, to Eskom; if it's a municipality, to the relevant municipality, so that we can dispatch the technicians to do the to restore supply or do the fixing to restore supply. So with the outages that have been experienced by customers, I am assuming at this stage that it could be an unplanned outage if the customers were not supposed to be off, based on the fact that they should have been told if it is planned, or they should have known if it was a load shedding. So, and that, unfortunately, if an unplanned outage happens when there's also, while we are implementing load shedding, unfortunately customers will experience more hours of load shedding. But at times, we need also just to apply our minds between the as distributors. If customers, for an example, have been off for a lengthy period and they are scheduled as well for load shedding, because there are instances where we do suspend load shedding for a certain period so that we can restore supply and sometimes give the customers reprieve because they've been off for a long period.
So, Mokoena, South Africa was not plunged into stage 8 load shedding on the weekend?
I can confirm that South Africa has not been plunged into stage 8. We've never called for stage 8. The highest stage of load shedding that we had called, it was stage 6, that we had implemented for the 2 days from Friday 12 o'clock till Sunday 12 o'clock.
I think it was the beginning of the year, or maybe last year, late last year, that Eskom had said that they are looking, or you are looking into feasibility studies, if that is the word to use, in terms of higher stages of load shedding. Is that something that is still on the cards? If so, is there progress that is being made there?
Yeah. Look, so it's the issue of having our NRS 048 document, which is not an Eskom document, but we do have, and other municipalities and other stakeholders have an input into that document, which basically regulates how we should do load shedding. So obviously there was a request that we need to look or review that document, or that document needed to be reviewed, which at this stage it is sitting still, I suppose, with NERSA, which is revision 3, which obviously means, because the current revision takes load shedding up until stage 6, and load shedding up until stage 8. So that revised document takes load shedding up until stage 16. But not to say that we will be implementing. It's just being ready, because you don't want that if the system or the system operator calls for higher stages of load shedding, we are not ready for them in terms of having the schedules ready and having to know between us as distributors what needs to happen. So it's just preparing yourself, basically, but not that we are going to implement. I think as Eskom, we've been saying and we've been showing, I think in our, even the last media briefing that we did for Summer Outlook, showing the members of the public that our plans basically to do all possible, or all our plans, and obviously to ensure that we do not plunge South Africans into higher stages of load shedding. So, and our plans so far I think we have achieved a lot. I think if you look at our generation recovery program, in as much as currently we are experiencing that spike of demand, and obviously with the balance in terms of supply, and the issue of our emergency reserves, we are just struggling a bit there, but it's not something that should be prolonged. Our plans, as I said, that we are starting to see the positive milestones in us achieving what we had planned for an example, the returns of Duduzile units.
Mama Mokoena, if you please, I do beg your pardon. Sure. Sure.
Yes.
I do beg your pardon. As you say, you've achieved a lot. Between this extreme weather, the heat, the rain, Eskom distributors, so we are left confused as South Africans. But very quickly, you've got some communities.
While I'm on that, and I know that you want to wrap up, and I think it's very important that while I'm here, because of the high demand that we're seeing, that we really want to plead with South Africans that as we are doing our part in Eskom to ensure that we have enough supply to cater for their demand, but obviously what we need right now is for them to reduce their, and switch off whatever that is not necessary, like we're saying pool pumps and, well, geysers are necessary, but we're saying between 1700 and 2100, which is the peak hour and the determining factor of, in most cases, the stages of load shedding. If they can reduce at those times, and so that we can also assist the matriculants really to do this, to study and to write their papers without plunging them into load shedding. I think if we can have and work together with South Africans, we are really, as Eskom, would appreciate that while we are doing also everything that we should to ensure that we get our ducks in a row.
You speak of matriculants, Mokoena, and we've been getting some reports from various communities in terms of their electricity having been cut off as a result of apparent debt. But for reconnection, then some community members are required to pay a specific amount, and apparently the amounts range from 6,000, 5,400 for indigent households. And so how are you determining who to assist more so when you speak of young people who have got nothing to do with that, who still need to study?
Yeah. So, that is basically also a very unfortunate situation that we have people that have, that have bypassed their meters and obviously consuming electricity for free. And unfortunately, as our status as well in terms of our financial constraints as well, because we are not also connecting the revenue that we're supposed to connect. And I think with those communities, especially the indigent, as you correctly said, we actually have been engaging a lot in the past, and there was an agreement to say they need to pay instead of a 6,000, because the fine, it is a 6,500 for the illegal connection that the customer, is not because the customer owes, but it's because the customer has illegally connected themselves, bypassed the meters. And these are the things that also, if you look, cumulatively, they also add up to the demand that we can't even manage as Eskom, because people have bypassed meters and they are consuming more than they should. But what we have agreed with the provinces or with the councillors is that those indigents or the people that, and in most cases or some cases actually, you find that it's not even indigents, it's people that can afford electricity, that actually they should pay the 500 cash upfront first, and then pay the rest or the balance of the 6,000 later. But whilst they have paid the 500, then we restore supply. Okay. So I think also it's also just to get the behavior correct, because we are not, electricity is not also, people should know that electricity is not for free. There are other helping or other programs that can help the indigents, which is the free basic electricity, and indigents are required to register for that free basic electricity if they cannot afford, so that at the end of the day they don't find themselves in this unfortunate situation where Eskom now has to come and switch off, especially at the time where obviously there's a higher need for the occupants of the household to use electricity.
Mokoena, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Daphne Mokoena, Eskom National Spokesperson.